Right now, the world is fixated on Bill Murray in a way we haven't seen in decades. A legendary comedian, actor, and cultural icon. He's suddenly at the center of a whirlwind controversy that has studios scrambling, journalists shouting for updates, and fans divided on social media. Some are calling it the most shocking turn in Hollywood history, while others warn that beneath the headlines lies a far more complex story. In the next few minutes, we'll unpack the real reason Bill Murray is trending worldwide right now, expose the surprising twists no one saw coming, and reveal why this moment may redefine his entire legacy. But first, imagine the man behind the laughter. The boy from Wilmette who learned early that comedy could be both survival and rebellion. Born the fifth of 9 children in a noisy household where the rule was simple. If you couldn't make them laugh, you washed the dishes. Young William focused every ounce of energy on humor. From picking up golf bags at a local club to a fateful hitchhike home, every misadventure sharpened his wit and set the stage for a future where rules were optional. That rebellious streak landed him probation after a teenage prank blown out of proportion at O'Hare Airport, and ultimately guided him into the chaos of Second City's improvisational theater. Here, he honed the trademark irreverence that would erupt on Saturday Night Live and on every big screen he touched. Fast forward to the present, and suddenly Bill Murray is news again. But this time, it isn't a new movie, nor a defiant prank, nor a dust-up on set. He's trending because of a single, electrifying moment at a recent gala that has the entire entertainment world buzzing. Footage leaked of Murray stepping on stage to accept a Lifetime Achievement Award, only to pause, look into the crowd, and deliver a line that froze every journalist's pen. "You've been reading the script of my life wrong," he said, voice low but clear. And then, after a moment that stretched into eternity, he continued, "Here's the real plot twist. We're all miscast." The room erupted. Laughter, applause, stunned silence. But what came next was even more unexpected. He dropped the mic, stepped off the dais, and disappeared backstage without another word. Within minutes, the clip went viral, splitting fans into 2 camps: those mesmerized by his offhand philosophy, and those convinced it was a sign of something darker. Mainstream outlets rushed to declare it a critique of aging, success, or the very nature of. Right now, the world is fixated on Bill Murray in a way we haven't seen in decades. A legendary comedian, actor, and cultural icon. He's suddenly at the center of a whirlwind controversy that has studios scrambling, journalists shouting for updates, and fans divided on social media. Some are calling it the most shocking turn in Hollywood history, while others warn that beneath the headlines lies a far more complex story. In the next few minutes, we'll unpack the real reason Bill Murray is trending worldwide right now, expose the surprising twists no one saw coming, and reveal why this moment may redefine his entire legacy. But first, imagine the man behind the laughter. The boy from Wilmette who learned early that comedy could be both survival and rebellion. Born the fifth of 9 children in a noisy household where the rule was simple. If you couldn't make them laugh, you washed the dishes. Young William focused every ounce of energy on humor. From picking up golf bags at a local club to a fateful hitchhike home, every misadventure sharpened his wit and set the stage for a future where rules were optional. That rebellious streak landed him probation after a teenage prank blown out of proportion at O'Hare Airport, and ultimately guided him into the chaos of Second City's improvisational theater. Here, he honed the trademark irreverence that would erupt on Saturday Night Live and on every big screen he touched. Fast forward to the present, and suddenly Bill Murray is news again. But this time, it isn't a new movie, nor a defiant prank, nor a dust-up on set. He's trending because of a single, electrifying moment at a recent gala that has the entire entertainment world buzzing. Footage leaked of Murray stepping on stage to accept a Lifetime Achievement Award, only to pause, look into the crowd, and deliver a line that froze every journalist's pen. "You've been reading the script of my life wrong," he said, voice low but clear. And then, after a moment that stretched into eternity, he continued, "Here's the real plot twist. We're all miscast." The room erupted. Laughter, applause, stunned silence. But what came next was even more unexpected. He dropped the mic, stepped off the dais, and disappeared backstage without another word. Within minutes, the clip went viral, splitting fans into two camps: those mesmerized by his offhand philosophy, and those convinced it was a sign of something darker. Mainstream outlets rushed to declare it a critique of aging, success, or the very nature of. NBC launched Saturday Night Live in 1975. They invited him in not as a performer, but as a writer, hoping to harness his offbeat ideas. He scribbled sketches and one-liners between coffee breaks, occasionally spitting out riffs so bizarre they sounded like encrypted code. Some jokes flopped, others transcended their low-budget origins and became lightning rods for an entire generation. Yet his on-air audition remained legendary. He donned a stovepipe top hat, played Abraham Lincoln interviewing for a corporate job, and delivered absurd responses with such dead seriousness that the audience felt they were witnessing history gone rogue. That sketch cemented his status as the unpredictable glue holding the show together. From that point, career odds slid steeply upward, but behind the scenes his passion for improvisation clashed with rigid broadcast schedules. On one SNL set, a precise camera move was scheduled, yet Murray insisted on ad-libbing the final line. When production called cut, he froze the cameras with a challenge in his eyes and spat the line anyway. Technicians scrambled to capture it, and when they did, the unscripted shot became a signature moment replayed on highlight reels for decades. Those same acts of creative rebellion, though, created friction. He was a breakthrough engine that sometimes threatened to stall the very machinery fueling his rise. His transition to film only magnified that tension. In 1979's Meatballs, a modest summer camp comedy, Murray declined to stick to the script. When a line felt flat, he'd throw in a physical gag or sideways quip, forcing co-stars to react in real time. Director Ivan Reitman later admitted he stepped in repeatedly to steer the shoot back on course, but he did so with a grin, because Murray's spontaneous flourishes were pure gold. Word got out, audiences flocked, and Meatballs emerged as a sleeper hit that proved Murray's anarchic instincts could carry a movie. Then came Caddyshack, where he fully embraced his role as a rule breaker. On day one, he showed up wearing flannel pants from the 17th century, insisted on delivering his own golf commentary, and orchestrated a prank involving fake alligators on set. Production assistants might have panicked, but when the film premiered, it became a cultural landmark, inspiring legions of comedians to chase absurdity. Iconic lines like "Be the ball" transcended the screen, echoing from golf courses to water cooler conversations worldwide. Ghostbusters further amplified Murray's creative tug-of-war with studios. Playing the sardonic Dr. Peter Venkman, he infused the character with a swagger so distinctive that he frequently reworked scenes on the fly, leaving editors with hours of unusable footage. The studio's fears of budget overruns clashed with their recognition that, without Murray's instincts, Ghostbusters might have been a forgettable spoof instead of a box office juggernaut. That tension between artistic freedom and corporate demands became Murray's defining edge. In the early 90s, he reinvented himself again with a dramatic turn in Rushmore. Trading pratfalls for pensive glances, he revealed a depth that critics hailed as a revelation. Suddenly, the man once known solely for comedic genius was acknowledged as a versatile actor capable of channeling vulnerability and regret. His metamorphosis signaled that he refused to be confined to any single genre. He was redefining them all. Yet every reinvention stoked rumors of volatility. Co-stars whispered about late-night run-ins during rehearsals, directors braced for last-minute rewrites, and studios factored Murray's whims into their shooting schedules. Being the ultimate wildcard carried a cost: creative brilliance so hot it sometimes burned those closest to him. Examining his journey from Second City to the silver screen, one theme emerges: Bill Murray has always been miscast in every sense. Whether portraying a deadpan bachelor, a bungling camp counselor, or a wistful outsider, he appeared as a version of himself that defied labels. He turned miscasting into a superpower, bending every role to his own logic. And that brings us back to the gala moment, when he declared we'd been reading his script wrong. He wasn't rejecting himself. He was reminding us that, from the start, his greatest act has been refusing to conform. Section 2 set the stage, but the real drama lies in the shadows of those bright spotlights. You haven't heard half of the feuds, from unpaid royalty wars to shocking on-set shutdowns. Stay tuned as we peel back those layers. Next, You'll learn how these conflicts threatened to erase him from Hollywood forever before one move flipped the narrative again. But beneath the triumphs, controversies simmered like slow-burning embers waiting to flare. One of the earliest storms erupted over unpaid royalties for Ghostbusters 2. When Columbia Pictures stalled on remnant payments, nearly $20 million owed to Murray, he vanished from the studio's radar. For 2 years, he refused calls, press junkets, or premieres. Headlines screamed Hollywood's missing comedian, while studio execs scrambled to rewrite contracts. That strike of principle cost Murray tens of millions, but it proved he was willing to sacrifice profit to defend creative ownership, an act that both infuriated insiders and won him respect among artists. Then came the notorious Caddyshack fireworks prank, a late-night stunt that nearly burned down the set. Murray slipped pyrotechnics into John Belushi's dressing room as a birthday surprise. The explosion rattled everyone, and security raced to intervene. No one was hurt, but the incident earned a reputation as reckless even by comedy world standards. Some cast members cheered it as prankster genius. Others saw it as a reckless liability. The fallout led to tighter security, production delays, and whispered warnings that Murray's next off-script moment could be his last chance in big-budget films. Fast forward to the 1990s, where Murray's reputation for unpredictability collided with the Me Too era. On the 2022 shoot for Being Mortal, allegations surfaced that he had crossed a line with a crew member, resulting in a formal complaint and settlement. The production halted, a planned release was canceled, and social media roared with divided outrage. Supporters insisted it was a misunderstanding blown out of proportion, while detractors claimed it fit a pattern of careless boundary pushing. Whatever the truth, the scandal cast a long shadow, one that followed him into interview rooms and red carpets, forcing him to address behavior he once shrugged off as playful irreverence. In parallel, whispers circulated about clashes with directors and co-stars. Richard Dreyfuss nearly walked off Get Low when Murray stormed away mid-scene over a blocking dispute. Guinea pigs included Tim Burton, who valued Murray's spontaneity yet admitted in interviews that every scene was an unpredictable tightrope walk. Even Wes Anderson, Murray's indie savior, recounted tales of last-minute script rewrites dictated by Murray's midnight musings. On one Tokyo shoot, Murray arrived in character wearing pajamas under his jacket, refusing to break role until the director acquiesced. These stories fuel the mythos of a man compulsively generous with creativity, yet notoriously difficult to pin down. Yet controversy also fueled comebacks. When the industry blacklisted Murray after high-profile disputes, he retreated to indies. Rushmore and Lost in Translation became his sanctuary, proving he could anchor a film without fighting every frame. Sophie Coppola's quiet world of Neon Nights allowed Murray to reinvent himself as a soulful, introspective lead. His whispered, "Don't forget me," line at the end of Lost in Translation became a clandestine confession, a man asking audiences to see past the pranks and pandemonium to the vulnerability beneath the mask. As streaming platforms exploded, they offered Murray room to breathe anew. A surprise cameo on a hit Netflix series reminded viewers that his turn-on-a-dime humor remained razor-sharp. When marketing teams begged for promos, he responded with a single cryptic tweet, "Plot twist incoming." Within hours, speculators claimed he was set to direct a passion project. The vagueness created viral buzz, turning silence into marketing magic. Murray's ability to manipulate narrative expectations became a lesson in guerrilla publicity. This dance between outrage and adoration reached a crescendo at the recent gala moment. By framing his miscast revelation as a philosophical mic drop, he turned old accusations on their head. What looked like a confession of regret instead read as a masterclass in shedding labels. He'd been typecast by Hollywood, pigeonholed by audiences, and boxed in by his own mystique. That brief speech signaled reinvention yet again. Murray offloading the baggage of past controversies and inviting us to rethink the entire performance. Critics are now scrambling to interpret his next move. Is he announcing a secret indie drama? A late-life Emmy bid? Or is this performance art, another chapter in his improvisational playbook? One thing is certain: by refusing to conform, even to the conventions of scandal response, he has once again seized control of the narrative. Today's headlines may decry him as reckless or provocative, but they also celebrate his irrepressible spirit, reminding us why we first fell for his unpredictable genius. Section 3 has revealed the conflicts that threatened to overshadow his legacy, only to become the very fuel for his reinventions. Next, we'll explore how Bill Murray is leveraging these tensions to forge unprecedented creative collaborations, from surprise films to world tours, and why his latest gambit might be the most audacious act of all. But even as controversy swirled around him, Bill Murray seized the moment to forge new alliances and launch projects that seemed to come from another reality altogether. In early 2025, whispers circulated that he quietly financed a dark anthology series for an indie platform. One so under the radar, Hollywood executives only discovered it after fans broke the news. Directed by an upstart documentary filmmaker who cut his teeth on guerrilla sets, the 8-episode run explored fame and identity, with Murray portraying various incarnations of himself across parallel timelines. The series debuted without advance ads or trailers, and within hours every episode was trending worldwide, lauded for its raw honesty and mind-bending structure. Critics labeled it genre-defying and the art film we never knew we needed. For Murray, it was a high-wire experiment, a test of whether he could drive audiences to seek out content on his own terms, without corporate safety nets or blockbuster budgets. Simultaneously, he announced a string of live performance events billed simply as Conversations with Bill, touring theaters across North America and Europe. These evenings resembled neither stand-up comedy nor traditional Q&A panels. Instead, Murray drifted onto dimly lit stages carrying only a single chair and an acoustic guitar. On some nights, he recounted off-kilter anecdotes, like the time he improvised a funeral wake speech for a stray dog, turning tears into laughter. Other nights, he'd sing a Bob Dylan song or recite fragments of letters he'd never intended to share. Each town provided new prompts. Audience members whispered topics into the ear of his stagehand, who scribbled them on small cards. Then Murray riffed, sometimes joyfully, sometimes brutally honest. These unpredictable sessions sold out within minutes and spawned viral clips of Murray bonding with fans through shared secrets and spontaneous riffs. This blend of avant-garde series and intimate performances showcased his mastery of contrast framing. One moment, he was a cinematic chameleon inhabiting multiple selves on screen. The next, he was a storyteller at a stripped-back mic connecting personally with thousands. In every twist, he embraced miscasting again, turning surprise into his signature device. And just when Hollywood seemed ready to retype him as the elder statesman of comedy, he dropped another shock. A surprise cameo in a tentpole sci-fi epic. The announcement came 3 days before release. No trailers, no press tour, just a cryptic social media post that read, "See you in the stars." When the film hit theaters, fans gasped to see Murray embody a cybernetic sage who spoke only in levitating haikus. His scenes lasted under 3 minutes, but they instantly became the most quoted moments of the summer, spawning fan art and late-night talk show dissection. Through these gambits, Murray rewrote the rules of celebrity engagement. He bypassed intermediaries, connected directly to audiences, and managed to keep people off balance without sacrificing his mystique. Rather than courting traditional endorsements or brand deals, he collaborated with avant-garde musicians to release an experimental album of spoken-word tracks under the moniker Ghost of Venkman. Each track featured Murray narrating uncanny bedtime stories set to jazzy loops and ambient soundscapes. The result was a record critics described as luxuriously odd and hauntingly immersive. It wasn't designed to top charts. It was meant to exist as an extension of his unpredictable persona, available only in limited vinyl pressings and one-night-only listening sessions. Beyond performance art and secret shows, he's also quietly authored a memoir slated for release in autumn 2025. But true to form, it won't hit bookstores. Instead, chapters will drop weekly as encrypted audio files, accessible only through a subscriber-based podcast. Each episode features Murray narrating unvarnished recollections, lost letters, behind-the-scenes conflicts, and personal regrets, interwoven with candid reflections on creativity and chaos. Early listeners reported trembling at passages about shattered friendships, and cheering when he defended his right to improvise. This serialized memoir Camadio exhibit is his boldest miscasting yet. He's an author who refuses to be boxed into chapters or bookstore conventions, turning even publishing into another realm for unexpected performance. Adding to the intrigue, he partnered with a renowned neuroscientist for a limited documentary on the psychology of laughter. Shot in black and white 16mm, it explores how humor rewires our brains under stress. Murray hosts the journey, testing practical jokes on volunteers while monitoring neural scans. Equal parts stand-up special and academic study, it merges his irreverent instincts with scientific rigor. When invited to Netflix's Upfront, he showed a single still, his face bathed in MRI glow, eyes wide, mid-laugh. No trailer followed. Yet everyone knew this would be must-watch content for anyone fascinated by why we laugh and why we need to. Meanwhile, his philanthropic side emerged in a partnership with environmental activists. He donated creative royalties from his Ghostbusters 2 settlement to fund clean water initiatives in Lake Michigan communities. He then starred in a series of PSA-style shorts released only on social feeds, shot on scratchy 8mm film. In one, he stands on a weathered pier, greets a fisherman with his trademark grin, and says, "If we can't laugh, we're lost. If we can't drink, we're gone." The spots went viral for their earnest simplicity and the odd comfort of hearing Murray deliver a cause-driven message without a punchline. Looking ahead, insiders claim he's negotiating a multi-year residency at a small theater in New Orleans, where he'll host improvisational jam sessions with local musicians, poets, and comedians. No tickets, no announcements. Entrance by word of mouth and whispered passwords. It harks back to speakeasy days and underscores Murray's commitment to preserving mystery. If true, it will be his first long-form live residency since The Conversations tour and an opportunity to build community rather than audience. Through all these unorthodox ventures, he maintains his mystique by leaving breadcrumbs rather than maps. Whether it's a surprise series, a clandestine tour, an audio memoir, or a VR time capsule, each endeavor reinforces the message. Bill Murray refuses to be fully known or typecast. Instead, he's a living invitation to expect the unexpected. In reframing controversy as the launchpad for pioneering art, he has once again transformed a moment of global fascination into a vast playground for innovation. And if there's one takeaway, it's that the shock of his gala mic drop was never about regret or scandal. It was a prompt, a challenge to each of us. What if the plot twist is just the beginning? He's never been a man your grandmother would describe as safe. And that's precisely why three very different groups find themselves glued to every new Bill Murray headline. First, there are the superfans, the generation who grew up memorizing every SNL sketch and quoting lines from Stripes at family gatherings. They thrill at the thought that their childhood idol still hasn't lost his edge, still disrupts cocktail parties with jarring one-liners, and still proves that age is no barrier to spontaneity. For them, his conversations with Bill sessions are pilgrimages, digital relics of a performer who refuses to retire quietly. Then there's a younger tribe, born into an on-demand culture that prizes authenticity above all. They didn't live through Caddyshack's theatrical premiere or watch Ghostbusters on opening weekend. So they encounter Murray through cryptic tweets, surprise indie drops, and viral backstage clips. With one foot in meme culture and the other in boutique theaters, they see Murray not as a fading legend, but as a provocateur who bends social media to his will. Every unexpected cameo in a blockbuster or whispered line in a Netflix doc becomes currency in subreddits and Discord channels, cementing his reputation as the original disruptor in a world of overscripted celebrity personas. Finally, there are the creatives, the writers, directors, improvisers, and experimental artists who view Murray as a case study in how to navigate the tension between chaos and control. They analyze his guerrilla tactics in advertising meetings, deconstruct his mic drop moment in film school seminars, and cite him as proof that you can break the fourth wall without burning down the playhouse. To them, Murray's career is a masterclass in personal branding. How to generate world-changing buzz with a single unscripted phrase, how to pivot from scandal to artistry in the span of a weekend, and how to ensure that every rumor becomes another layer in your myth. Yet reassembling these audiences under one narrative umbrella requires a deft balancing act, one that Murray pulls off by weaving contrast framing into every move. He alternates between grand gestures and intimate disclosures, oscillates between indie sincerity and big-budget spectacle, and flips between being the prankster who can set off fireworks in a dressing room and the philosopher who can speak tender truths into a single microphone. This fluid identity makes him hard to pin down, but easy to follow, ensuring that no matter where you first encountered him, you're always curious to see where he'll appear next. The format of his new ventures also reflects an acute awareness of modern content consumption. He packages long-form narrative in bite-sized leaks, encrypted podcast episodes, surprise live clips, limited vinyl pressings, encouraging fans to hunt, subscribe, and share. The style is unmistakably Murray, improvisational, intimate, and self-aware, with playful allusions to roles past and future. One moment you're marveling at his ghostly sage in a sci-fi epic, the next you're sitting beside him in a dim theater, phone silenced, as he riffs on mortality and the absurdity of fame. The transitions feel natural because they mirror the unpredictability we've come to expect from the plot twist king. Behind this orchestration lies a singular purpose: to take control of legacy. By refusing conventional marketing channels, Murray ensures that fans become evangelists, critics become collaborators, and Hollywood executives learn to treat him less like a commodity and more like a creative partner. Each new project is both a statement and an experiment, proof that narrative power still resides in the performer's gut, not in the studio's boardroom. In an era of algorithmic curation and data-driven decisions, Murray reminds us that surprise and emotion can't be engineered at scale. They must be earned, moment by moment. As a result, every new headline is a micro-event. When he drops a teaser for an MRI shot laugh special, neuroscience communities buzz over methodological questions. When he funds a local water initiative, environmentalists share his PSA reels as rare models of celebrity sincerity. When he teases a New Orleans residency, underground scene seekers whisper passwords to each other like they're passing secret notes in a grammar school classroom. His approach transforms passive viewership into active participation, converting casual fans into cultural co-creators. So what's next? As Bill Murray's narrative spirals farther from the traditional plotline, the only certainty is continued uncertainty. Will he announce a quantum testing lab for comedian-physicist hybrids? Will he suddenly vanish, only to resurface in an augmented reality exhibition? Will the next controversy be a purposeful performance piece or an unfiltered confession that forces Hollywood to reckon with its past? Whatever unfolds, you can be sure his every move will draw lines between the diehard nostalgics, the digital natives, and the creative avant-garde. Three audiences united by their fascination with a man who insists on being miscast again and again. And through it all, one constant remains: Bill Murray is the architect of his own mythology. Every revelation, every surprise appearance, every condensed audio memoir episode, and every whispered stage riff is not merely publicity. It's a deliberate calibration of perception. He understands better than anyone that in an age drowning in predictable content, unpredictability is the rarest commodity. By framing controversy as performance and turning performance into controversy, he has fashioned a career that any traditional marketing executive would envy. The world at large feels they're witnessing raw authenticity, when in fact they're participating in a carefully choreographed dance between chaos and control. This final chapter of our exploration returns us to that gala mic drop, the moment where he declared that he'd been miscast in the public imagination. Far from being an admission of regret, it was a provocative thesis statement, inviting us to reconsider every banner headline, every retrospective clip, every remember when montage. In declaring himself miscast, Murray did not reject his legacy. He reframed it, showing us that each scandal, each improvised flourish, each midnight improv session, and each on-screen monologue was simply a single character in a much larger, infinitely malleable performance. And now, as we close this six-part saga, it's worth asking, what have we truly learned? That a career built on unpredictable genius can survive, and even thrive, on principle? That celebrity can be wielded not as a commodity, but as a canvas? that in the hands of a master storyteller, controversy is not an obstacle, but the raw material of reinvention? If so, then Murray's astonishing resurgence makes perfect sense. He didn't bounce back from scandal. He leveraged it, absorbing headlines like fuel and transmogrifying them into art. In doing so, he has given us a blueprint for creative resilience. Embrace the unexpected, own your controversies, and remember that legacy is not a destination but an ongoing act of interpretation. Perhaps the most striking lesson of all is that this story isn't finished. If Bill Murray has taught us anything, it's that a well-timed twist can erupt at any moment, appending our assumptions and rewriting the script mid-production. So as we prepare to hit play on the next chapter, be it a cryptic tweet, a secret film, or a midnight performance, let us remember the arc that brought us here. From a crowded dining room in Wilmette and a teenage prank at O'Hare, through riotous nights at Second City, lightning in a bottle moments on SNL, blockbuster triumphs, auteur collaborations, and subterranean indie experiments, Murray has mastered the art of miscasting, subverting every expectation to reveal deeper truths. And what might those deeper truths be? That creativity is born at the edge of disaster, that humor can illuminate our most human vulnerabilities, that chaos, when wielded thoughtfully, reveals patterns invisible to the planning mind. Bill Murray's career shows us that the greatest performances are not scripted but improvised, not designed for mass markets but sculpted for intimate connection. When he spoke of being miscast, he was speaking not only of himself, but of every person who feels misaligned with the role society assigns. His message is universal. To find your own stage, you must first unlearn the lines you were handed. So what happens next? We can only speculate. Maybe he'll launch a VR time capsule mapping the neural pathways of laughter. Perhaps he'll take over a radio station for 24 hours of unedited reflections. Or he could vanish entirely, resurfacing years later with an entirely new persona. Whatever form it takes, one thing is certain. The world will watch, debate, and share, because we know by now that every Bill Murray move is a gamble worth taking. He doesn't just perform for us, he performs on us, inviting our participation in an ever-unfolding narrative that blurs the line between life and art. And that, ultimately, is the real reason he's trending worldwide right now. It isn't a single act of defiance or a solitary scandal, but the culmination of a lifetime spent turning every moment, glorious or contentious, into part of an epic, ongoing performance. Bill Murray is not trapped by the roles he's played. He's liberated by them, using each chapter as a stepping stone to the next great miscast adventure. As audiences, critics, and co-creators, we are not passive observers, but active participants, perpetually invited to question, to wonder, and to await the next twist with bated breath.